All right, so we're diving into this whole resource manager thing, right?
Yeah.
And I got to be honest with you. When I first saw this, like when you sent over the research, I
Mhm.
was like, resource manager. It didn't exactly scream like dream job off the bat, you
Right,
know?
right.
Spreadsheets, scheduling, kind of sounds, well, a little dry. No.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong about the spreadsheets.
Right.
They're definitely part of the gig.
Okay.
But this RoleCatcher guide you were talking about,
Yeah.
this thing actually paints a much more kind of dynamic picture. Think less about just like filing paperwork
Okay.
and more about, well, conducting a high-stakes juggling act.
Ooh, juggling act. Okay, now we're talking. So spill it. What's the real deal with being a resource manager?
So at its core, it's about making sure a company's not wasting its most valuable assets.
Okay.
And that's its people, its time, and of course its budget.
Right. Makes sense.
The guide defines it as, and I quote, ensuring the optimal use of organizational resources
Yep.
and acting as a bridge between departments.
Bridge between departments. So you're the one, what, like keeping everybody on the same page?
Exactly.
Oh, wow. That sounds like that takes some serious communication skills.
Absolutely.
And probably the patience of a saint, honestly.
Yeah, you're telling me. The guide, it really does emphasize like strong communication. That's essential for this role.
Okay.
But it's not just about, being a smooth talker.
Right.
Remember that 64%,
64%.
wow, of a resource manager's job, at least according to this guide, is management of personnel resources.
Hold on. 64%. So almost 2/3 of this job is managing the people,
Yes,
not like the actual spreadsheets, the budgets.
Yeah.
That changes things.
exactly. It's about leading and motivating a team, often in, challenging situations, sometimes unexpected situations.
Oh, okay.
In fact, the guide even mentions that resource managers might find themselves working remotely in difficult weather conditions, even dealing with like unexpected crises.
Okay, so we've gone from spreadsheets to potential crisis management. This is definitely not what I was picturing when we started. But could you, like, I gotta ask,
Yeah.
could you see yourself handling those kinds of curveballs?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It takes a certain kind of person to really thrive in a role like that. Someone who's adaptable, can think on their feet,
Yeah.
not afraid of a challenge.
So how do you even prepare for a role that needs you to be, like, adaptable and a strategic thinker at the same time? I
Right.
mean, the guide does go into specific skills, right?
It does, and thankfully it actually goes beyond those like generic buzzwords you see everywhere.
Yeah.
It talks about critical thinking, negotiation, but then it breaks them down in a way that's actually helpful.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about those. I feel like critical thinking is one of those things that gets thrown around so much.
For sure.
But what does it actually mean for someone in this kind of role?
So it's not just about having opinions.
Okay.
It's about analyzing information so you can find the best solutions.
Gotcha.
This guide emphasizes, weighing the pros and cons, considering all the different perspectives, and then ultimately making your decisions based on the data, not just your gut feeling.
So less about being like opinionated and more about having a structured way of thinking through your decisions.
Exactly. And then negotiation. Well, I think a lot of people misunderstand what that really means.
Yeah, I was going to say, I always thought it was about just being like super persuasive,
Yeah.
like getting your way no matter what, you know?
Right. That's a really common misconception. The guide really highlights that negotiation for resource managers is more about finding solutions that actually work for everyone involved.
Oh,
It even uses the phrase reconciling differences,
okay.
meaning that you're finding common ground and making sure that everyone feels heard and respected.
Right. So it's less about like winning and more about finding a way for everyone to, get what they need out of the situation.
Right.
Especially when you're the bridge between all these different departments, like we were talking about.
Exactly. And those skills, honestly, they just become even more important as you move up that career ladder.
Oh, okay.
The guide actually lays out these different stages of a resource manager's career path.
Okay.
From those coordinator roles all the way up to like senior leadership.
So the higher you go, the more responsibility you end up with.
Oh, for sure.
But it's not just that even the types of tasks they change too, right?
Totally.
Like it's not just updating databases anymore.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about like developing allocation strategies. That sounds kind of intense.
Oh, it definitely is. And to really stand out, the guide recommends looking into some specific certifications.
Okay.
They highlight two in particular, PMP and CSM.
Okay, hold up for a sec before we go any further. Can we just break those down?
Of course.
I'm not exactly swimming in certifications over here.
Sure.
What do those even stand for?
All right, so PMP, that stands for Project Management Professional. It's like this globally recognized certification that shows you've got the skills to handle those really complex projects and lead teams.
So it's like you said, a stamp of approval
Exactly.
from the project management gods.
That's the one.
All right, so that's PMP check. And what about that other one? CSM, was it?
CSM, that's Certified Scrum Master.
Okay.
Scrum is a framework for agile project management,
Okay.
which is all about adapting to change super quickly and working in those short iterative cycles.
So if PMP is like the general project management certification, CSM is more for those fast-paced, always changing environments.
That is a great way to put it.
Okay, cool.
And it makes a lot of sense that the guide brought these up, especially when you look at the industry trends section.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. We can't talk about jobs without talking about automation these days.
Right.
But how's that impacting resource managers specifically?
So a lot of those manual tasks you used to think about with this role,
Yeah,
those are starting to be taken over by software, by AI.
makes sense.
So resource managers, they're having to level up their skills to stay ahead of the curve.
So it's not just about managing people anymore. It's about navigating all this new tech, too.
Absolutely. And that's actually where those certifications that we were talking about come in.
Okay.
Those show employers
Yeah.
that, hey, not only are you comfortable with technology, but you've got the skills to manage those projects, lead teams in a world that is constantly changing.
I like it. Okay, so speaking of standing out,
Yeah.
the guide also had some pretty interesting stuff to say about the whole interview process.
Right.
And this is honestly where RoleCatcher kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Okay.
120,000 practice interview questions. Like, are you serious?
It's a lot.
That's insane. But also, it's kind of brilliant. You'll never be caught off guard in an interview again.
That's the goal.
Can't be that easy, can it?
Well, it's not just about the number of questions.
Okay.
RoleCatcher actually uses AI to help you figure out how to tailor your answers to specific jobs.
Whoa, so you're not just memorizing generic answers.
Right.
You're actually figuring out what each interviewer is looking for.
Yeah. They want to get a sense of your thought process, how you approach different situations.
That's huge. It's like having a secret weapon for interview prep.
I know, right?
Okay, I gotta say, I'm starting to get it. Like, this whole resource manager thing.
Yeah.
It's not just about, pushing paper around. It's about strategy and leadership and being comfortable with all this crazy tech.
Right. It's amazing what we can learn in like an hour. Right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing that really stood out to me. The guide, it paints a really specific picture of what a resource manager is. But don't you think all those skills, they could be useful in other parts of life too?
Oh, 100%. Just thinking off the top of my head, we've talked about negotiation and strategic thinking, balancing priorities. I mean, that's useful whether you're managing a team at work or trying to keep your own side hustle going, or even just navigating family life, right?
Yeah, totally. Think about it. How many times have you been in a situation, maybe like a personal situation, where you wished your negotiation skills were a little sharper, or where you wished you could approach your to-do list with that resource manager mindset?
Oh, all the time. More than I care to admit, honestly. So maybe what you're saying is maybe this wasn't just about a job or a career change, Maybe it was about unlocking some new skills that could really help us level up, in any area of our lives.
Now you're getting it.
All right, so to everyone listening, if any of this sparked even a little bit of curiosity, I say go for it. Dive into that RoleCatcher guide, check out their platform, who knows? You might uncover some possibilities you never even knew existed, not just for your career, but for your life.
It's true. Sometimes you got to zoom out to see the big picture,
Yeah.
and realize that these things we learn, these skills we pick up, they don't always stay confined to one specific area of our lives.
Not all connected. So who knows? Maybe diving into this whole resource manager world will inspire you to become a better negotiator or a more strategic thinker, or even just someone who's a little bit better at managing their own time and energy, right?
Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, that's what I'm all about.
That's the beauty of knowledge. It opens these doors to possibilities you never even knew were there.
Love that. And on that note, I think we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And until next time, happy learning.